Hey everybody, welcome. This is HolyJoe Rock and Roll emergency broadcast. I may be traveling tomorrow, so I may have to cancel tomorrow's usual broadcast at 8 o'clock. But I wanted to get out with this this broadcast today. You can of course reach me on Skype at HolyJoe Rock if you want to call in. Let's get my Skype up. Skypey Skype. But also there's chat here. Chat in the channel. Whoa. Oh, it's right there. Look at that. Alright. Okay. So some of the news that I wanted to talk about is Trump finally got some movement on his building the wall. We want to build that wall. And he just recently got $1.6 billion towards that end, which is not a lot. Some people have said it's insignificant, but it is a significant win. It is movement in the right direction to get that wall built. Now, Trump has said that, you know, the border is about 2,000 miles long, but there's about 1,000 miles of natural barriers. My understanding that there already is about 400 miles of border wall already up. So this 1.6 billion will build, according to this report, about, well, one of the reports, not this report here, approximately 60 more miles. And 100 million will go towards hiring 500 additional Border Patrol agents. 500. That's a lot of people. 106 million for aircraft and sensors, 131 million on new technologies, and 109 million on non-intrusive inspection equipment. So 1.6 billion is for the wall. So that is at least a good win. It's a win in the right direction. I'm not tired of winning. It's just the beginning, from what I can tell. The other thing that's important is today Trump arrived in France, in Paris, and he met with Macron, the president of France. And there was a really great ceremony when the two leaders met, and also, well, the wives and the two leaders met, and it was pretty cool. Pretty, you know, a lot of pomp and circumstance, right? What you'd expect in France. And here's a picture here in Paris. I guess this is the presidential palace. You know, France is one of those like hub and spoke street plans. It's not a grid plan. So, for instance, there's a connection between the Arc de Triomphe to the Louvre, and there's all these, you know, like a hub and spoke type setup. And honestly, I never really was that impressed with Paris. People always said that it's a beautiful city, city of lights, but and maybe it was just the people that I went with, or the people that I visited with, or the people that were showing me around. They were not wealthy people, so they didn't probably have access to some of the coolest stuff. I did go to the Louvre. I did go on the Champs-Élysées, also known as Charles Estage, whatever. Funny story is, the first time Gegon Productions, hey, welcome. First time I went to Paris, I was on the Champs-Élysées, and I didn't actually know how to pronounce it, so I remember saying, I didn't go to the Champs-Élysées, I went to some street, it was called Charlie Estales, whatever, I did the English American pronunciation. It was so hilarious when my friend said, that's the Champs-Élysées. I was like, I mean, I wasn't that impressed. I just wasn't that impressed. You know, I've lived in other European cities, this is before I came to Poland, and I just wasn't that impressed. I don't know how people feel out there if they've been in Paris, they whatever. My friend, he was a journalist, so he wasn't making that much money. And I remember the dude was poor. Okay, let me put it to you that way. The dude was freaking poor. And, you know, he was a good guest. You know, I stayed at his place, crashed at his place. But basically, what did he eat? He ate toast bread with different kinds of, basically, deli meats and some camembert. Stinky camembert. The stinky, the better. That's what he ate. I mean, you know, and then I said, listen, dude, I want to take you out let's go to a really nice French restaurant, man. And being a poor freak that he was, he didn't know any really great places. So he took me to some restaurant that a friend of his recommended, and it was just okay. I mean, I wanted a steak. I wanted some kind of steak, or I wanted some kind of this fancy-ass little French finger food that makes you want to eat a pizza after you leave, right? This was just a regular restaurant, and the waiter recommended I get the fish. I'm not really into fish. It didn't come there for fish, but I mean, it was okay. It was some kind of white fish, some kind of sole, whatever. Pretty decent. Nothing that impressive. But on the way to the airport on the last day, my other friend, who was French, but he's originally from Luxembourg, took us to this like truck stop. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It was not a truck stop, but it was, I don't know, it was like a truck stop basically. And they had freaking awesome food at this place. I got some steak, a little steak, with some dark gravy, some fries, and it came with a little salad, and it was pretty reasonable. I mean, pretty reasonably priced. And the only thing that ticked me off was I asked the waiter for ketchup, and he's like, "Oh, you're American, you want Tabasco." I said, "I don't want any Tabasco sauce, I want ketchup. Ketchup for the fries, man." That was the only thing that happened. That was kind of funny. Judith, welcome. Hey, man. From Australia. Hey. I'm live, son. What's up?
Tomorrow is really hot weather.
Could be.
We'll go eat tomorrow go swimming pool?
Yes. If it's hot, we'll go to swimming tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
All right. This is live, so please. Never know what's going to happen, baby. This is live, without a net. Wire, or tight wire, walking without a net. That's one of my little kids. One of my little band. Right? Little shrimp? All right. So that was Paris. I think we ate at a couple of places in probably on the Champs-Élysées for a coffee. My friend's sister was pretty hot, and I remember took her for coffee, and we were somewhere on the Champs-Élysées, and I remember I was just practicing my French, and I said, "Bonjour, monsieur, un café, s'il vous plaît." And the guy started talking to my friend's sister, and I said, "What did he say? What did he say?" And the guy said, "When you came in, you said bonjour, monsieur," and he thought you could be French. But then when you said un café, s'il vous plaît, he knew you weren't French. And I just like, man, who the F cares, man? Who the F cares? Just give me my coffee, right? But quick other story. I don't know. I mean, I'm talking about France because Trump's in Paris right now. But other thing that happened, and this, for instance, this never happened to be in Poland. And it's one of the reasons I just love Poland and the Polish people. And I know people will say that France is basically Paris and then the rest of the country. All right? At least it used to be like that way. I don't know with this migrant crisis, this migrant invasion, perhaps that even has changed. But I was in Paris, and I actually went for a business call. It was in the summer, and it was after one of these trade shows. And I wanted to meet with one of the companies that I had met with on the trade floor. And I went there, and I think I took a taxi there, and I thought, let me be bold, be brave. I'll take the bus back. My French sucks, and I got lost. So I took a bus back, and it was whatever. So I went into this pharmacy, apotheca, right, in Paris, and I said to the woman, because I'm looking for the metro. I knew if I found the metro, I could get home. Because I knew how to get on the metro and whatever. But the buses, whatever, I didn't know. But so I go into this pharmacy. Now tell me, people, if you've had this kind of experience in Paris. I say to the woman, "Scusi, mademoiselle, où est la metro?" And she looked totally confused, looking up in the air like this. "La metro, la metro, la metro." So I said, "Le metro?" She said, "Le metro." I said, "Le metro." And then the F and B says, "Oh, la metro." I mean, le metro, le metro. Le metro is the correct gender. Not la metro, le metro, whatever. And then when I said le metro, she understood me. And I was like, I was hot, I was sweaty, I was tired, I was lost. Come on, if anybody asks you where's the metro, or, I mean, I can imagine somebody saying, "Excuse me, Where the metro? What are you going to say? Where the metro? What is the metro? You know what the guy's asking for. I mean, you would know. So whether it's Lee Metro, La Metro, Le Metro, come on, Lo Metro, Lee Metro, whatever. You got to know what I'm talking about. So this woman pretended to not understand me, and it really pissed me off. Luckily, I didn't choke her, but she said, oh, Lo Metro, and then she told me where to go. So I got on the metro and I got back. But now, to make matters even worse, my French friend, I got back to his place, I told him what happened, what I just told you, and I said, dude, that was so rude. How could she not know if I said La Metro? She doesn't know that it's the metro. Come on, man. And then my French friend, who I expected him to say, dude, I'm really sorry, man, that's really messed up. She should have understood you. Come on. I mean, we're intelligent people, right? We're French. But no, he said, well, you said it wrong. I said, what do you mean I said it wrong? It's Le Metro. I said, I know it's Le Metro now, but I said La Metro. Why couldn't she understand La Metro? And he says, well, you're in the pharmacy, apotheca. Probably she thought La Metro could be some product in the store. I said, où est La Metro? Where is La Metro? Instead of où est Le Metro? Anyway, I don't want to harp on this. This was something I've been meaning to talk about. I wanted to do a Round the World with Holy Joe rock and roll playlist where I would tell stories like this about the different countries I've been to. And this was going to be reserved for my French story, my French story. But I've already spilled the beans, so it's out there. But that's what happened in Paris. And I just wasn't that impressed, man. I just was not that impressed. The Louvre was okay, a beautiful museum, a lot of cool stuff. Got to see the Mona Lisa, if it was, in fact, the real Mona Lisa. Who knows, it might have been a copy, right? Because they're protecting the real one in case somebody steals it or tries to steal it. Whatever. But it was cool, man. Yeah. I mean, Macron, I mean, when his wife came out, I mean, his wife, let's be honest, his wife, there she is right there. I don't know if I can get a zoom in on that. His wife is really his grandma. It could be like his grandma. I think she's 40 years older than him. I mean, she actually, for her age, has a pretty tight body. I'm just saying. I'm not saying I would hit it, but, you know, maybe there's something special about that. There must be something really special about that. But supposedly, she was hitting on this guy, that when he was like 15, and she was 40. So, I mean, like 15. That's 25 years older. So she doesn't look that much older. I mean, she actually, whatever, a lot of fake up, makeup, right? But yeah, that's a serious problem right there. I mean, whatever. To each his own, man. To each his own. She does have children. I believe she has at least 3 children from a previous marriage. So, but he and them, of course, don't have any children together. And he is one of many European leaders, Western European leaders, who have no children. I think most of the Eastern European leaders do have children, including the Polish Prime Minister, Beata, has children. So I believe she has 2 children. I want to say a boy and a girl, but it could be 2 boys. Can't remember. People can remind me on that. But definitely she has children. So that's pretty cool. A real quick update on the 500 Plus. It started a year ago, and this is a program in Poland to encourage people to... Hang on a second. I'm sorry about this. I got a phone call, urgent call. All right, thank you. Sorry about that. Important phone call. Had to take that. I don't know if you could read my lips. Anyhow, hey everybody, welcome. Good evening, everybody. Coming up on 8:30 here, Central European Time. Oh, where was I? Oh, the 500 Plus program. Good evening, Darwin and Dokasha. Yeah, I was looking to see, like, has it had an effect? Has it had an effect on women in Poland having additional children. Now, reading further into it, for most people, you're not going to get the 500 zlotys per month for your first child. So it's really encouraging people who already have families to have additional children, which kind of makes sense in a way. Whatever, kind of makes sense. Whatever. Let's just let that be. It is what it is, right? So there has been an uptick. I can't say how significant it is. There was no numbers on the uptick, but it just goes to show you that if you have good government policies, you can encourage Europeans to have babies, okay, without the need for third world, low IQ, non-workable savages coming into your country that refuse to assimilate. So, promotes pathology. Yeah, I mean, look, this is a good question. You know, some people have said that. Well, here's my only concern is. Well, there's two concerns, really. I mentioned this in the previous video. I really wish they would have it such that you have to definitely be married. You have to be married and living with your spouse to qualify for the money, okay? Because this is, I mean, look, if you already have a child and let's say you're divorced, I would not encourage a single mother to have another child. Definitely extra 500 zlotys is not going to be enough. Excuse me, it's helpful, but it's not going to make you. It's not going to improve your life, really, okay, in Poland. It's not. I mean, even if you're living for free, it's just not going to help, right? But, yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I mean, but here's what I'm saying is, in one of the articles I read about the 500 plus, a year later, seeing the effect on it, there was a story about a woman who was married, living in the UK, working there, but or maybe in Belgium, something like that, definitely outside of Poland, and wanted to have children, came back to Poland, and it took her about 9 months to find a job which would give her maternity leave benefits. And this is another thing that, look, I guess if I was a woman, I would do the same thing. But I've seen this as in my working experience. A woman will come in, will have a job, will be working. I'm not trying to be negative on women in the workforce. I'm all for them doing this, right? But, they're working, and then they get pregnant, and then not only since you are working, you will get basically a year's salary paid for you, a combination by the government and by your employer, and they got to hold your job. So, I mean, I think it's up to 80%, let's say, of your base pay or your salary. So that really encourages you to, have the baby, stay home for a year, which is really good for the kid. I'm not hating on that, but I've seen women come back to work, and basically every year, let's say 18 months, they'll have another child. So they're back at work for about 6 months. They get pregnant. So 6 months later, when they're probably just starting their third trimester, they'll get a note from the doctor that says they have to go on bed rest, and they're able to leave. They get sick pay for 3 more months. Then they go have the baby, and then they have 80% of their pay for another year. So, in a way, that's kind of a scam. But if companies are going to put up with it, they can't fire the woman. Hey, buddy, I'm live here, buddy. I'm right. So this is live. So that's the only thing. It's kind of a little bit of a scam. But if you think about the long-term picture, look, if the woman is helpful to the company, I mean, they definitely should bring her back, right? They got to kind of keep her job or keep a job open for her, or be ready to rehire her when she comes back, and that's cool. So, but I've seen it. It could be abused, right? It could be abused. So that's the only thing. But I'm glad that it's there. It's helpful to me. People know that I have 4 children here in Poland. I don't get the money; it goes right to my wife. So I mean, whatever. Obviously, I had to fill out the paperwork, but it's helpful. Look, I got 4 kids. They're Polish American kids, and I'm trying to build an army. I probably, I probably could have a few more, but probably shouldn't. Whatever. I mean, but in the article, I just want to point this out. They were saying that they said that it was very expensive to take care of children in Poland, and I think that's a bold-faced lie. That's a bold-faced lie. Look, if you have a child and you're able to stay home with that child, for the mother, stay home with that child for a year, right? Because you're getting the 500 plus. Oh, by the way, you get 1,000. The mother will get 1,000 zlotys for the first 12 months. I guess if she doesn't get if she was not working, so it's 1,500. Again, that's not enough to really live on per se, but it's helpful, right? If you have a husband who is working, it's helpful, right? And look, I'm paying taxes for my paycheck probably at the rate of about 30%. I totaled it all up and did a quick, back of the envelope calculation. It's about 30% of my pay goes to taxes. So just, in my opinion, just some of that money's coming back. Some of that money's coming back. So it's kind of like a small tax discount for me working in Poland. So it's not bad. So, but I think it's good. And they say that in Poland, the birth rate is around 1.3 versus the 2.1 that is needed to sustain the demographics, right? Keeping the total population basically at the same level or slightly growing. But I gotta say, man, all of this bullshit that when I was growing up, they're talking about the world is overpopulated, just bullshit. It's nonsense. If you're a Christian European, you should be having children if you can. Get married, have children. Okay, definitely do it. It's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's an amazing thing. Somebody took the time and the effort and probably had some fun making you. So why not return the favor, right? Because look what's happened. The leftists tried to paint this whole, starting probably in the late 60s, early 70s. Overpopulation was a thing, right? There's too many people, so they encourage people to have less children. Then, of course, the birth control, the pill came out there. What did that really do for women? It allowed them to not get pregnant. And then what did that do? So then women went to work in bigger numbers. But what did that do? That actually depressed wages because supply and demand, people, more supply, more workers, same amount of demand for jobs, pretty much, lowered wages. Wages started going down, especially in the U.S. That really has not turned around yet. So I'm not saying that women should be stuck at home. That's not what I'm saying. But there's got to be a balance, right? And if your husband can make more money than you, because for whatever reason, let that happen. Let the natural forces go to work. Is what I'm saying. Seems to make sense, man. Yeah, I mean, look. This is one thing that I've seen a lot. Look, I went to medical school. I saw women go to medical school. Most of the students were women. Oh, let's say over half. After they graduated and became doctors, they were doctors obviously when they graduated technically, but when they going through residency, several of these women got pregnant and are no longer working. So what does that say? It's just one example that these women went to medical school, took up a spot that could have been there. A man could have been taking that. Could have been became a doctor, and now they're I won't say they're housewives, but they're no longer working. So that's a negative effect, right? How many people could have gotten educated in their place because that was their plan? They were probably working on the MRS degree, or that was just something to do, or this whole idea of, oh, I need to have something to fall back on in case my husband leaves me. Just be a better woman, right? Be a better mom, be a better wife, so your husband will never leave you. Because most men don't want to leave their wives. Most men love their wives. They just want to have a good relationship with their wives. So, but it is good. I think it's a good thing. What? Oh, that's messed up. I've got a message here that says that there is a plan for giving free Korans on the streets in the biggest Polish cities. That is messed up. And the comment here is, I have an idea, just burn places with the Koran. Yeah, absolutely. If I got a free Koran, I would definitely burn it. I have a rocket stove. You can see some of my videos on the rocket stove. That would definitely burn up pretty fast. I encourage people to read the Quran, or at least, look, open the book. And you don't even have to buy the book. They're online. Prophetofdoom.net. Prophet, as in prophet, not as in money profit, but as in like Moses, and prophetofdoom.net. There's 5 official copies, official translations of the Quran in English. 5 English translations that you can go through and just read some of the stuff. But just read a couple pages and you'll very quickly understand this is a shit book. Hashtag Islam sucks balls. Absolutely. 100%. Hashtag Islam sucks balls. The Quran is not the word of God. It's the word of Allah, maybe. Allah equals Satan, in my opinion. When you read it, 109 verses that say kill the infidel, 164 verses to instruct you to commit violent jihad against non-believers. That's what's in the Quran. That's just what it says. Now, again, I'm not saying anything about individual Muslims. Some of them might be really fine, might be great. But the Quran, the ideology in that book is horrible ideology. It's satanic. It's definitely not from God. It is the opposite. It is the opposite of what Jesus preached, which, love thy neighbor as thyself, love God with all your heart, with all your soul, right? Turn the other cheek. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. I mean, the Quran is the complete opposite of that. Pretty much the complete opposite. And early Christians believed that this was the Antichrist satanic, basically satanic verses. It's known that there are verses in the Quran that Muhammad said he got from Allah and then later recanted them, and those verses are known as the satanic verses. You can just Google that. Yeah, you can just Google that and find the satanic verses. Most people are aware of that now. I'm just trying to get that word out there. I was very ignorant about Islam, and I heard this, right? I heard sort of this. And then I asked a friend who had lived in Malaysia for many years. He was raised Catholic, but let's just call him, he's a humanist, human secularist, let's say he's an atheist, basically, right? But he had lived in a Muslim country. So I asked him about these things. Like, I heard that there was 109 verses in the Quran to kill the infidel, blah, blah, blah. He said he never read the Quran, but he thought that was bullshit, and that if someone said that to him, he would want to read the Quran and read the Hadith to find out for sure. So so I took it upon myself. I said, well, this guy says that that's what he would do to prove or disprove what's in the Quran. So that's what I did. I started my investigation. What's in the Quran? What is it? I started reading it, and actually it led me to prophetofdoom.net, a website where there's a book called Prophet of Doom, and if you read that, it discusses the Quran and the creation of the Quran and Muhammad's life, blah, blah, blah. And then there's, like I said, on that website, there's 5 English, like official English translations of the Quran that you can compare and contrast, because, some of the wording, you can translate words into different things, right? Like verily is the same thing as truly I say, that kind of stuff. So sometimes it says verily, sometimes it says truly, whatever. But that is what's in there. Now, got a comment here, the Old Testament is no way better than the Quran. I beg to differ. I would say that, look, the Old Testament is really a history book of the Hebrewites. The Hebrewites from Genesis, right, just the beginning, through the 5 books of Moses and the Exodus, supposedly the Jews getting thrown out of Egypt, right? That was before they got thrown out of 109 European countries or governments or whatever, regional governments threw them out. So is Moses' account really correct? Or were they thrown out of Egypt because of usury, right? Which is lending of money at exorbitant interest rates. But anyhow, so the Old Testament, now, there is the series, the Bible series. If you don't want to read the Bible, check out the 10-episode epilogue. It's on the torrents, called The Bible. It came out about a year or 2 years ago. And somebody under my feet. But what I noticed, and obviously if you go to church every Sunday, They say, at least if you go to a Catholic Mass every Sunday, in 3 years period, you will have basically heard in the readings, either the first reading or the second reading or the gospel, you will have heard all of the major stories, all of the major themes from the Bible. Certainly you will have heard most of the gospel in a 3 year period, if you look at the liturgy of the Catholic Church. Okay, so but the Bible miniseries, this 10-episode series, really highlights, and people, I'm surprised people didn't notice this, really highlights the failure and the lack of humility, the lack of the Jews or the Hebrewites actually following God's word. I mean, one thing after another, they're doing the opposite of what the prophets are telling them to do, right? They're doing the opposite. Like David does the opposite of what he's supposed to do after he becomes king. All these people, I mean, they're all, it's always, it's like they're not fulfilling they're not fulfilling their covenant, their side of the covenant or the contract. I mean, that's really the Old Testament. Now, there's a lot of violence in there. And for instance, when the Hebrewites get to Jericho in Canaan, in the land of Canaan, the land promised to them, there's already people living there. There's already people living there. Just like modern day Palestine, these Jews started coming back. There's already people living there. Why would God promise you land there's already people living there? Kind of doesn't make sense, man. Yeah, okay. Okay, so there's a correction here, updating. Yeah, there is a lot of, in the Old Testament, there is a lot of eye for an eye and, stoning daughters who were bad. And, I mean, yeah, there is some horrible shit there. That's why Jesus came, to fulfillment of the scriptures, to bring the new covenant, the new contract, as it were, to the people, to the Jews or the Hebrewites, saying that, look, I come from the Father, right? And only through me can you get to the Father, and it's really through faith alone that you're going to get to heaven, right? Believe in Jesus Christ, right? And follow in his ways. So that's really the major thematic shift. And in the book, by really an awesome book, but you don't even have to read the book. You could just listen to one of his 45-minute video podcasts by E. Michael Jones called The Jewish Revolutionary Spirit. He really describes in detail how the Jews, because they rejected Jesus, they rejected Logos, which is, in the first chapter of John, it says, first there was the Word, and then the Word was life. And that's Logos, is translated into word, but it's a Greek word, and it means more than just word, right? It means logic, it means, society, rational thinking. And the fact that the Jews rejected Jesus, who was Logos, logic, rational, they became revolutionaries. And they've been basically backing all these revolutionary things throughout history, right? You can start even further back, but you can start with the French Revolution. Then you can talk about, in more modernly, the civil rights stuff, right? They really weren't that involved in the ending slavery, as I'm aware of, and actually a larger percentage of Jews in the South actually owned slaves. Only 2% of Southerners owned slaves during slave times. 2%. But a lot of them were Jews, and Jews were, again, probably a fraction of 1% of the population at that time. So it's pretty interesting. And also, there's a lot of evidence out there, even coming from Jewish sources, the Jewish Encyclopedia, that a lot of the people behind the slave trade into America was the shipping companies were Jewish companies. The Jews were making a lot of money off of that. So whatever, that's just history. It's just something to think about. But the whole homosexual revolution, who's behind that? It's really obviously gays, who are a minority. Jews, they're a minority. And also, E. Michael Jones points out some of these CEOs, like the CEO of whatever, Mark Benioff, Salesforce.com, Jews like that, man. Really, fighting against Western civilization, fighting against logos, fighting against Christianity, Christian values, fighting against the definition of marriage, which I don't know, it just makes no sense. But really, I really would encourage people to listen to some of what E. Michael Jones has said on these topics. One of them was like, America's now a gay disco. That's a quote based on a quote from the Berlin mayor, gay mayor, who says that wir sind arms aber sexy, meaning we are poor but sexy, and saying, look, you may not have good wages, you may not have a good job, but who cares? Go to the gay disco and have a good time, right? So that's what we're looking at as one of the negative forces pulling down Western civilization. This is a corruption from the inside. But we can turn it around. As you can see, countries where peoples stick to their traditional values, Christian values, defend their cultures, like Poland, like Hungary, like the Czech Republic, that you can stop these globalists from creating havoc in your countries. You can do that. This is what's happening. Now, I mention that because some of my American friends, when I told them what's going on here, that Poland has refused to allow in any Muslim migrants, they were stunned. They hadn't even heard that. They didn't know about it. And I know a lot of it's because of CNN is fake news, hashtag fake news, and they're not getting the true news. They're not getting the news. And they may be busy with their lives and their family, and they don't have time to do the research, but the main channels for them, they're not getting anything. So leftism definitely kills. There's never been a positive outcome to socialism. Let's look at Venezuela, one of the potentially richest countries on earth, with probably the second, or even some people say the largest, proven oil reserves. And you got people suffering, hunting down pigeons and rats and eat. They even said that, I don't even want to say this, it's disgusting, that people were mixing grass and some excrement to make food, to eat that, which doesn't sound good at all. It doesn't sound good at all. So, yeah, that's true. Well, listen, the pagans had beliefs that were not scientific. Now, you could say that the early church also had beliefs that were not scientific, but some of the strongest proponents for science were Catholic monks, the Benedictine monks. Think about Mendelssohn. I think his name is Mendelssohn, who was a Benedictine monk. I think he was born in what is now Western Czech Republic. He's the guy who came up with genetics, with the peas, cross-pollination of the peas, right? Geological studies. Some of the first people and most important geological studies were the Catholic Church priests. They were studying this. You know what I'm saying? So, there's also a great book out there called How the Catholic Church Built Western Civilization. It's on the torrents. You don't have to buy it, but we should support these people. Obviously, I would prefer. I give my stuff away for free. All my music is available for free. Download it, listen to it, enjoy it. If you like it, please send me a contribution. That's all I ask, right? We are in the final phases of producing the hard copies of the definitive 5 CD collection, the 5 CD definitive collection of Holy Joe Rock and Roll. This is the first one. It'll look like this. That should be ready. But
We're leaving.
okay, it's not 9 o'clock yet. Give me 3 more minutes. I got 3 more minutes, and then I gotta jet everybody. But the first 4 definitely will look something like this. Different colors. Here's the actual covers. But you can see this on the website, HJRR.org. You can see the album covers. The artwork was done by a really great Polish artist several years ago for some of this stuff. And I'm just finalizing. Yeah, Galileo. Okay, that's a good point where, yeah, see, he discovered that the Earth was not the center of the universe, that the sun was. And at first the Catholic Church was opposing this. They supposedly showed him the instruments of torture. They didn't torture him. They showed him the instruments of torture so that he would back down. But later on, the church came to its senses and endorsed Galilei, information that the Earth is not the center of the universe. And actually, I think it was Copernicus, or I believe it was Copernicus, a Polish, what do you want to call him? Astrophysicist, early astrophysicist, who showed that, look, if you put the sun in the center, all these celestial bodies, the mathematics, the calculations becomes very simplistic. When you put the Earth in the center, I mean, it's just incredibly complicated because it made no sense, right? So, Copernic. Next, you said as if it was. Yeah, okay, so Copernic was several centuries later, but it's just what I'm trying to say is that, but contrast that to Islam. Islam, who has said that Muslims cannot go to Mars, that it's against Allah's will, that Muslims cannot go into space, basically. So think about that. And also, we know that before the Arab world became Muslim, they were stargazers, right? A lot of these nomadic tribes in Saudi Arabia and in the Levant and in this area, right? They used the stars to navigate. In fact, again, the story of Jesus' birth, the Magi followed the star to come to find Jesus and give him gifts, right? Gold, incense, and myrrh, right? And most of these stars, the big stars anyways, were named by the Arabs. But then, after Islam came...
It's 9 o'clock.
I think in the 800s, 800 AD, so about 100 years into it, he basically said that this Muslim, whatever you want to call him, leader, basically said that math is the work of the devil, and it's against Allah's will. So the scientific knowledge, exploration, this kind of stuff, questioning and exploring, just died out in this Arab world, this Muslim world. So that is very important, and it's still continued to this day. Combining that with inbreeding, they say 50%, and if you can just Google Muslim inbreeding, the numbers are incredibly horrible. At least, on average, 50% of Muslims are inbred, meaning that they are the offspring of close relatives, like first cousins. And we know that this creates genetic defects, including suppresses the IQ, creates low IQ, semi-retarded people, basically. And there's a lot of birth defects. The Pakistanis in the UK are so inbred that even though they're like 3% of the population, something like 40% or more of the birth defects are to this small group of people. It's a horrible thing. Anyhow, I'm not here to poo-poo on hashtag Islam sucks balls, but we all know that it is, and it's probably never going to change. So we just got to be aware of that. But yeah, Bill Warner is doing great work. Dr. Bill Warner, definitely look for his stuff if you want to get educated. He has these 4 or 5 minute nuggets that explain different things. Also, David Woods, Acts15.com or something like that. Acts 15 Apostles is his channel. Also does great work explaining what it means, what Islam actually means, and what does it mean to the Demi, which is all of us, or the Kafir, the non-Muslims, right? So it's important to know that, especially in today's day and age. Yeah, I don't know Bill Warner, but I know of him. I do watch him. He's really another person who I came across in my search for knowledge. No, he's different. He's different. Definitely different. That's not even his real name. Bill Warner is not really his real name, but that's the name he uses. And that's what people can find him on YouTube as. So, we're ready to go? Yep.
We're going to the Rennick.
Okay. All right, I just got the word. You heard. We're going to the Rennick. So I got to bust out everybody. I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank everybody for listening. We jumped over 2,000 subscribers. I'm really excited about that. I'm really happy. I also want to remind you, I opened up, I don't know if I said this before, patreon.com/HJRR. I opened up a Patreon page. If you'd like to become a Patreon, I'd really appreciate it. As little as $1 a month. I'm going to put some goodies on there. So, you know, starting at $1 a month, you'll probably get some goodies for you. And we'll probably have some private calls and also some merchandise for those who contribute more. I really appreciate your support. Yes, son?
You want to go to Krakow?
Okay, yes. Let me wrap this up, okay, buddy? All right, next time I got to lock the door, right? Got to lock the door while I'm doing my live broadcast. This was unexpected. I thought I had some time. I did have some time. So, listen, everybody. Thank you once again. Super. Hey, listen. Just give me a minute. I gotta shut this show down. Thank you once again, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate it. Always remember to make it happen for the captain because you're the captain. This has been Holy Joe Rock and Roll, the man with the tan who's always got a plan. Reminding you, like I said, to make it happen for the captain because you're the captain.